My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.
All right, guys, welcome back. EYL, this is a very, very dope edition that we have for a variety of different reasons. So, you know, it's always dope to find, you know, young entrepreneurs at the beginning stages. I think that's what Earn Your Leisure was built on. Like, you know, we can run through the resume of people that you might probably have never heard of before they came on Earn Your Leisure, including MG the Mortgage Guy, including Wall Street Trapper, including Ian Dunlap, including who else? Alex Good Energy. Mobile Homes Elite. The list goes on. Yeah. Our most recent one like that was Paula McCarthy. Ooh. That was crazy. Her growth.
Out of nowhere, right? Yeah. We watched her go from 100 to like 10,000 in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, that's
we breaking records. That's record breaking. Yeah.
Like the Motown of business for sure, man. Yeah. So this falls right in line with that. So we got two young men. By way of Africa originally.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Shouts out the homeland.
That's a fact. The gold continent.
Yes, sir.
And now they in the DMV. I think they grew up in the DMV area. Mm-hmm. So Francis Kway and Jehu Graham.
Yes, sir.
I say the names correct?
Yes, sir. Nailed it.
Yes.
Perfect.
So these young men have a fintech company called Cheat Code Algo, and they actually did a lot of work for us already. If you're a member of EYL University, they've taught several different classes for us. They've become regulars at this point.
They're part of the team.
Yeah, so they're young men out of the DMV area. I believe 29 and 30, is it like that?
I'm 30 going 30. I'm 27.
27 and 30 years old. And they created, well, they'll explain it, but they created a fintech company that allows you to actually track to see when is a good entry point to get into a stock, when to get out of a stock. Technical analysis. We talk about technical analysis a lot on Market Monday. So they created their own algorithm, their own proprietary software called Cheat Code, and they also, you know, do other kind of educational stuff involved with that as far as investing and things of that nature. But it's all built around investing, stock market investing, entry points, exit points, sprinkled with fundamental analysis as well. So a whole fintech company around investing. So we're going to have a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, these guys don't leave the house. So this is every time I speak to them, they are busy up for 20 hours. Yeah, that's a fact. So this is a true honor and pleasure to have y'all here. Yeah, welcome to the lab.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it.
No, for sure, man. We appreciate you guys, man. Y'all been a blessing this whole since we started, man.
Yeah,
man. Since the very first version, you know what I mean? We had our initial conversation, so man. Appreciate you guys, you know.
Yo, the way we met was crazy. That was man, it's
so
unusual. Good. Talk people how we met.
I think we had just created version 1.
Yep.
We just created version 1, just got it out there. We had a beta tested it with 100 people.
Yep.
And we're like, yo, this thing is a hit, man. People love it. You know, we gotta get this out there. So we're like, yo, who can we, reach out to? I was like, yo, Earn Your Leisure, bro. I'm just seeing them all over the place, yo. Like, let's hit them up. So I think Jehu sent out messages or something like that to you guys. Somebody on your team responded. Yeah. We set up the meeting. And it just so happened, like, finally, when y'all got back around to us, it was like, my daughter was supposed to be born September 25th.
Indeed.
And Jehu's birthday was October 6th. He's like, yo, she's going to be born on my birthday, man. I'm like, nah.
Out the gate.
So she ends up late, October 6th. Then your team get back and like, yo, we're gonna set up a meeting for October 6th at noon. I'm like, damn. I'm like, man, should we push it back or nah? And my girl's like, nah, do it. Just go do it. I'll be fine.
Shout out to her.
Yeah,
facts.
She's a champion.
The real one. I'll never forget the call. We were on the call and you like, fellas, I apologize, but my daughter's being born. And we were like, oh, okay, congratulations. Yeah. You mean like right now? Yeah, right this second.
Like, he kept the meeting
going. Yeah, that's a fact.
That just goes to show you, man.
It's the biggest.
EYL biggest.
Yeah, man. When EYL call, you pick up.
Stay tuned.
Pick up, man.
Even child labor got to put up.
You got to keep it up. He said just go. Just go.
Nah, but that's dope, man. Congratulations.
My wife for that one, man.
Yeah, congratulations for that. That was welcome to the fatherhood club.
Yeah, appreciate you, man.
Yeah. You getting any sleep or?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, she did fine. Like the first couple months was rough, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, she's fine now. You know.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't get any sleep because of Chico more than I
That's a fact. That's the like third baby for real.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's get into this story.
Yeah.
All right, so how do you guys connect and how do you guys start to come? So are you originally born in Africa or are you born in America?
Yeah, so I was actually born and raised in Ghana. I've spent half of my life in Ghana and half here. So I came here about when I was like 13 years old. And that's, I went through the school system, all that crazy culture shock, you know what I'm saying, from what I was used to. But something special, man. And it's just being able to adapt, get familiar with the system here.
Like teenager you came?
Yeah, teenager I came. It was different.
How was it different?
Listen, man, let me tell you a story. So in Ghana, right, first of all, the school system is a completely different component. Like in Ghana, you have, where we have like 40 kids maybe in the classroom. The teachers come to us like for different subjects. We have like 10 subjects, we learn about religion, different religions, the environmental studies, integrated science, mathematics, just a vast amount of different subjects. And then when you come here, it's like you learn it's different the way you learn. You learn everything that has to do with America, even history. We learn about world history, everything. So it's like you're aware of different cultures and you're able to respect, different cultures just because you understand what they do. I know Muslims pray 5 times a day. So if I have a friend that's Muslim and they have to go pray, like I understand, what I'm saying? There's no, difference right there. You're not shocked that something's happened. But here it's like you learn just about like, it's Christian, of course in Ghana it's also like, trust and, the creed and things like that. But here it's in God we trust. Perfectly understandable. But when you come to the school system here, it's like, okay.
European perspective.
Yeah, European perspective. So here, it's like, okay, you get here, the teachers, you go to the teachers, right? It's madhouse through the system. Like, you know what I'm saying? You go to the hallways. But it's a different system. It's something that you can definitely learn from. But when it came to the history side, like I never liked American history, not because like I didn't know American history. I knew a little bit of American history. Like also one thing in Ghana, like, you really learn to appreciate what like you learn about and you love people, right? Like even when like, let's say Caucasians or any Europeans come to Ghana, like we follow them as kids, like we follow them like, oh yeah, like, welcome to the, you know what I mean? That type of vibe. But it was like the real shock was coming here and realizing like, Black people are like, you know what I'm saying? Like different. Like it's like, the receiving and the receptiveness of that was very, very shocking. Just going through a system and then, being in class. My language arts teacher in 7th grade asked me if I had a pet tiger. I can't make it up. I swear to God. So and she was being serious.
Well, yeah, that's interesting because a lot of times, like we just used to racism because we, that's part of America. That's part of. But when you go to a different country where Black people are the majority and you're not the minority, it's a different perspective because you're not. I mean, it's other, there's different classisms and stuff like that. Right. But as far as that level, it's different. It's different because you are in control and you are seen on TV. Right. You are seen in magazines. You are the norm. Yeah, exactly. You're normal. But yeah, that was definitely a different perspective. But my education level was like skyrocket. Like in math, like I was in 7th grade, but I was doing like high school, like probably like 11th grade math. I was good at calculus, everything. Like, so coming here, like almost like I took a step back, like kind of like learning just because I felt like even in class, I was passing tests. Like I didn't like homework. I was never like an institutionalized minded type of person. Mm-hmm. And I also understood business because like at the age of 8, I was already like running my own business. Like my mom like put me in front of the store doing transactions with like, grown men and things like that. So this is in Ghana? Yeah, this is in Ghana. Okay. I had like coconut trees. I'll sell coconuts and things like that. Living by myself for like 3 years. My mom came here before we did. My brother and I, that is. But yeah, it's just a culture shock, man. But it's a good thing. I'm glad like, I was able to get a little bit of there and a little bit of here and just kind of like mesh that together. It gives me a really big perspective on just life in general. So, yeah. And you're from America? I was born in Maryland. Where's your parents from?
My dad's from Ghana. My mom's Liberian and Lebanese.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. He's a mix.
Yeah.
So all right. So how do you guys connect, and how does this lead to the So
we ended up connecting through a mutual friend of ours. He had a company selling clothing, African centric, like modern African clothing called Flashikis. Shout out Flashikis. Flashikis? Yeah, Flashikis. Yeah. Okay. So we were all part of the team, and then he was already part of it, and bro he'd known me from starting other businesses, you know, in my social circle. Because I've been an entrepreneur since like 21. So 2011 is when I started. And so he knew me from that. He asked me to come be part of the team. He was already part of the team. We connected. And then we kind of built that company up. And then, you know, one thing led to another. He had kind of been behind me for a long time to like really get out and start teaching stocks. I was always telling everybody around me about stocks and options and doing stuff like that and trading. And, you know, before it was really, you know, as trendy as it is now. Right. And then, you know, when the market started really taking a turn, he was like, yo, you really need to get this information out there. And he's more extroverted and stuff like that. So he's much more of a social person. He was like, yo, I'm going to start a group. Just teach, you know what I'm saying, the group, you know what I mean? So we started with 16 people on Instagram. And Instagram group chat. And then everybody started making a ton of money. And then they started telling other people. And then everything kind of just grew organically from that point. And that's how we started to build the community. Yeah. And then through the community, we realized, all right, well, people need a little extra help, you know what I mean? Because some people got 9-to-5 jobs. Some people don't understand technicals. Some people don't understand how to do this a lot. So I was like, all right, well, let's sit down and figure out how we can make something that can help out. And that's how we just kind of sat down, locked into a room for like 2 weeks. But I was like up, you know, in the living room, actually. My girl was like going back and forth, and I'm just learning how to like code all this stuff to kind of create the software. So we ended up creating the first version of the software to help out the community. Yeah. And then it ended up turning into something that was like, it can help out way more than the community.
So where do you get introduced to stocks? Because I know this is something that you've been studying. I mean, you said 12 years. I'm thinking like, oh, this guy must be mid-30s. But no, you're talking about in your teenage years.
Yeah.
So who introduced you to stocks? Yeah. Where did you find a love for it?
Yeah, my father. My father put me on the stocks when I was, shout out Pops, man. Yeah, so this is why it's important for everybody to really understand that what you invest into your children pays out multiple fold, you know, down the line. And so he introduced me to the concept of stocks at 13, in 2003. So he showed me about MicroStrategy. It was a company that he's in tech. He's a software engineer. And so he was like, yeah, you know, this is how you do it, da-da-da. Set me up with a little account. And from there, I just took a real deep interest into it because I've always been an entrepreneurial mind. I never really, you know, like he was talking about, never been interested in doing a 9-to-5 thing. So I learned how to just kind of do research on. My first real major trade was gold, actually, in 2004. Gold was like $300 an ounce or something like that. I did a lot of research into it. And gold ended up going to like $1,800 an ounce the next year. And that was like my real first big trade. And then, you know, all throughout teenage years, I did it, you know, penny stock, stuff like that. I was a little bit of a knucklehead in high school, and it took me a while. You know, no matter what I was doing, I'll go out and do whatever I was doing, and I'll take that money and then go back, put it in the stock market and try to flip it that way. Right. And then 21 came, and it just turned around. I was like, look, I'm gonna just go full time in the day trading and learn how to day trade. Yeah. And that's when I really just took off with it. You know. So
and this, I mean, obviously financial literacy, especially the stocks, trendy right now. Everybody's talking about it, but I'm thinking at this time, early 2000s, DMV. Mm-hmm. What they telling you? Like, yo, get out of here, kid. You don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, and at that time, you know, the only place that really was to learn a lot about, at least that I found, about this type of stuff, there wasn't as many YouTube channels and things like that there are now, right? So I used to drive to, there's a company called Scottrade, a brokerage.
I had to.
Yeah.
$7 a trade.
Yep, exactly. Both ways. Yeah. And then you paying for options contracts, you paying like another like 45 cents per contract. Both ways. Yeah. So, you know, it's a lot different than what it is now. So they used to hold classes in their locations. They had physical locations like in shopping centers. So I'd go and at the time I was working construction. I was getting like $350 a week, you know what I mean? Doing like, you know, digging ditches for electrical wires. And I was a junior electrician. And then I'd drive after work, I'd go, and at the time I had my son was just born. And so I was like, I got to figure something out, you know, because I got, you know, record and all types of stuff. At this point, I needed to figure out something to do. So, yeah, I'll go to the Scottrade. I'll just sit through all their classes. They talk about MACDs and RSIs and stuff like that. And I'll be the only black person there, the only young person there. You know what I mean? And from that's kind of what gave me my base of knowledge and technicals. And then when I started to figure out that stocks don't just don't go up and down randomly just because. Like there's something that really is right. Letting you know that the stock is going to go down for, like, this is what I need to learn. Yeah, so that's why I really dug really, really deep into it. And I've been at this ever since then. That was 2011.
So let's have this conversation. I want to ask you about how you taught yourself how to code, but even before that. So, all right. So you're saying stocks don't just go up and down randomly. So anybody that's not aware, you should definitely watch Market Monday. That's a fact.
Shout out E.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so fundamental analysis and technical analysis is the two most common ways that people evaluate stocks, right? Fundamental analysis is looking at the fundamentals of a company, like how much revenue is being brought in, how much debt does the company have, things of that nature. And then technical analysis is actually looking at charts. So if you ever see a stock chart where it goes, up and down, and then it looks like, a bunch of like candles, that's like candlesticks and stuff like that. So that
like craziness.
Yeah. So people's actually, looking at that. So we've talked about that before, but all right, technical analysis, like for somebody that's just learning about stocks, what's the best way you can explain technical analysis?
I would say this. I would say fundamentals is how you know what to trade, right? You know what is a good company that you want to trade, whether it's you want to find a stock going up, right? A company that's good, solid fundamentals, that's undervalued. It's a company you want to trade to the long side. A company that's got bad fundamentals and still trading high, it's something you want to trade to the downside, right? And then technical analysis is knowing when you want to trade that company, right? So with every company, whether it's a great company fundamentally or not, there's going to be a time to go long, there's going to be a time to go short. When I say go long, go short, going long just meaning you're going to be betting on the company going up, and there's going to be times you're going to be betting on the company going down. Even if it's a really good, fundamentally sound company, sometimes it's just overbought. And sometimes it's time for the company to pull back a little bit. You got to know when it's time to switch. And so technicals is just knowing when is the right time to trade in which direction. And so it takes in factors of data, of price action, of when the stock is doing certain things, because stocks trade in patterns. And I think it's something very important for people to understand is that there's a pattern and a rhythm to the stock movement individually, and then also the stock market as a whole. Markets go in cycles. Right. We have bullish cycles, we have bearish cycles, we have consolidation cycles, and it all kind of just goes in one continuous type of thing.
One thing I always say with that is that wherever there's numbers, there's always a pattern, right? Like if you any historical data that you will find out there, going back as far as 10,000 years, wherever it is, like BC, even creating the Egyptians, they always find symmetrical, geometric numbers and things like that. But wherever there's numbers, there's patterns. So you just got to be able to understand what those numbers mean, the story that they're telling, and then you can be able to come up with an educated guess, right? Like an hypothesis of what is going to happen next, just based on the scientific aspect of it.
So if I'm using technicals, I'm a beginner. Like, what are some of the, indicators for a beginner to use to actually figure out when these things are going to happen?
The cheat code.
Number one.
Yeah. Number one. And I say that jokingly, but I also say it seriously, only because the thing about it is it's indicator set. That's really what it is. It's an indicator set of indicators, and we created it to be a comprehensive system so that it kind of takes into factors. So typically what I would say to answer that question before cheat code, I'll be like, okay, yeah, MACD. RSI, learning support and resistances, right? And so what we did was we improved the MACD, improved the RSI.
What is that? What's the MACD?
MACD is basically two oscillating moving averages. So moving averages, if you were to take the price of a particular stock over a period of time and average it out, and it would create one kind of smooth line. And depending on
like the 20-day, 50-day,
right,
like a
exactly.
Like the 200-day moving average.
Exactly. That's just the average of all the price action over the past 200 days averaged out, and it's going to give you 1 point. A lot of little points will create a line, right? And so that line is where you can look at, and that'll give you information as far as support and resistances, things like that. So it's really, really good information, important information. So the MACD is really just two of those type of moving averages, one fast, one slow. They oscillate, and once they cross over, it'll tell you that you're getting into bearish action, or potentially going to the downside. And when they cross over to the upside, you got bullish action. And then the RSI would be something where it basically tells you when the stock is essentially reaching into overbought levels. So, and when I say overbought, if you think of like a car engine, if you run the car really long, it'll overheat. So that's when you have an issue, right? Or if the car's been sitting too long and it's cold, you got cold cranking amps, you need it to warm up. At least back in the day, cars now it's not an issue. Yeah. But you get what I'm saying. So like you have oversold conditions. So what we did was we really combined those concepts, improved upon them, and then that's how we kind of created a lot of the components of cheat codes. So we're in a constant state of improvement. So as we trade with it personally and with the community, we say, okay, yeah, it'd be nice if we had some, something that could tell us when this was getting overbought, right? So we created the CC swing, right? It was a CC squeeze, and we added little clouds and little different pieces of information that tell us when things are happening. And so that's why we did it in the way we did. to make it so that even a beginner, could use. I told my son's 8, and I taught him how to trade with Chipotle. He learned first and foremost how to trade with the cheat code. And his first trade, he made $600 doing it, and that was just him playing around, on and learning how to do it. So it's a very simple, straightforward type of thing.
He's
but
a young genius, though. Let's not disregard that fact.
Yeah, he is a young
it is a very
phenom.
simple, it is a simplified, process.
So the CC squeeze, that's yours?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay. I'm like,
all of it. That's why it's cheat code.
So I've done the RSI, so that's the relative strength index.
Yeah.
And we spoke about this again on Market Mondays, where it's like if you see that 80 or 20, that's usually, I want to be in somewhere in that middle range to say like, all right, this is a good position to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen the CC squeeze on the indicators on Yahoo. So I'm like, maybe that's just something that I didn't know it was yours.
It's cheat code squeeze.
Yeah.
So, squeeze indicator is another common indicator. TTM squeeze is a common indicator that's out there, and it basically identifies periods in which a stock is squeezing or has a lot of pressure built up and is ready to expand to the upside. And so, we traded with that, and then there was always some little issue that I had with it, and sometimes I wanted to take a step further and make it better. So we improved upon it, based it off of different data, and then we got a better result, and that's how we kind of created that. Right.
So all right, let's have this conversation as far as how you start the company. How did you teach yourself how to code?
Man, it was just, look, one thing I tell anybody and everybody, that when you want to learn something, I think our public school system kind of does us a little bit of a disservice sometimes. And shout out to all our teachers out there, educators. I'm not trying to diss anybody, but I feel like public school teaches you how to think and not, or teaches you what to think and not how to think, right? And so for me, I always was a person, I was like, if I want to learn something, there's resources out there. I can teach myself how to do anything. I don't care if it's engineering or whatever it is. If I want to be dedicated enough, I'll do it. So basically all it was just sitting down one day. I was like, listen, I need to create this. What do I need to learn to create it? Filter out all the nonsense that I don't need, right? And just say, this is what I need to learn. And so I went in learning JavaScript. Yeah, I learned JavaScript and I learned another scripting language that is unique to the platform that we built the cheat code on. And I did that, pretty much just locked myself into a room for a couple months and just really went at it, just learning it. And also my dad, he's a software engineer, so it might be an innate thing, because I never really learned from him, but it could also
got the mind for it. You got the understanding for it.
I think anybody can. Anybody can.
Because personally too, like I understand these concepts just because I'm a strong suit of math and science, right? Because also on the point of because at 8, when I first came into this country at 13, I picked up because I never had access to computers and stuff like that back home in Ghana, right? I really when I came here, I was obsessed with learning, computer language and things like that. So
EYL University is the biggest online platform for education, but it's much, much more. It's actually a community. Our private Facebook group has over 8,000 members and 20 infinity groups. The students teach themselves just as much as the professors do. We have weekly webinars. We have over 100 past webinars. You get access to MG, the Mortgage Guy's Real Estate Blueprint. You get access to monthly financial planning calls with yours truly. You get access to our monthly group chat investment calls and much, much more. So go to EYLUniversity.com right now and take advantage of our limited offer, blowout sale, 65% off of the annual membership. EYLUniversity.com right now.
If you have a gift or something like that with our community too, usually the kids are able to have these type of gifts in different communities. That's not going to be stunted, essentially, stunting growth of certain.
There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of talent out there that doesn't get fostered in other communities, right?
Because that's
same thing here. Same thing here in lower income areas. We all know, we have talent everywhere. Our community is some of the most talented people on the planet.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you look at whether it's Africa, whether it's the Caribbean islands, or whether it's here in the States, we have some of the most creative minds on the planet that just don't get fostered and they don't get nurtured in the way that they should. So I think that's basically what he's
to encourage that type of thing. Yeah, essentially.
So the Java, you Googled on YouTube?
Yeah, did YouTube about classes. I went out and found classes on it. You know what I mean? And then online little courses. A lot of YouTube, and then just a lot of plan. It's another thing, is I didn't go through, right now, if I needed to code something in Java or any other scripting language, I probably couldn't do it the way that somebody else could. I just learned enough that I needed to know to do what I needed to do, right? Which was to create the indicator set I needed. It was really the skill set that I had in trading. I needed to know how to manifest the trading strategy that I already had and then put it into a software. So anything that I did at that point was literally just geared towards that, right? So I didn't go through the whole like learning how to do from scratch this and the third and build an app and all this other type of stuff. I literally just learned enough that I needed to get my first version out. Then I did a version 2, and then I went out from version 2 once we created an actual product and realized this was something we had on our hands. Now it only took me but so far. There's some things I needed that I just couldn't code myself. So I brought people in onto our team, and we expanded our tech team to start, doing things like that. Now, as we expand,
so you learned stock early on.
Yeah.
So when did you become involved? He's teaching you the stocks.
Yeah.
And then so he's teaching you how to code too. So what's happening?
So that's I'm glad you asked that, because like I'm essentially like a perfect testament of like how his ability to teach and the success that comes from just knowing and getting out there and just really seeking this information. Because I was more like an institution, like 9-to-5 type of worker, and there's no way I was planning on.
I see this guy quit his job.
Yeah, ever.
All right, so you're in college and
right. I went to college. I was pre-med, all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Gotta be a doctor.
Yeah, gotta be a doctor. You know what I'm saying? Gotta be a doctor. Back then, and my family's like, all doctors, nurses, and things like that. But yeah, just like, when we first fostered our relationship, that's something that, because I was always like, long-minded, like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to make sure the legacy, I talk to him about this all the time, like bloodline. We got to make sure like our bloodlines are like legends, like, like names like Rockefeller, things like that, Mansa Musa, like that type of name. But essentially, once he started talking about this and like I was doing this, I was putting in action what he was talking about. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's one thing too that you have to be like, you have to really put into action the things that you learn. Because you can learn, a million things for a million times. If you never actually put it into action, it will never really like, manifest anything. Mm-hmm. So I started putting it into action. I started making good money. And then there was a point, like we had a business where like we're making a bunch of money. And I still wouldn't quit my job just because of the mindset.
You quit? We had a water damage restoration company. We ran for large scale apartment complexes. So like kind of what you guys have in New York, 500 units or better. We're doing water damage restoration for this company. So our checks were big.
You said water restoration?
Yeah. Emergency, water damage restoration. So pipe bursts, things like that.
Y'all going in the
because I had construction experience. I was in real estate, flipped a lot of houses, stuff like that. We built that company up, and I'm like, dude, we're making like $20,000-$30,000 a week, and you won't quit. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, why not? I'm like, this is it. And he's like, man, I just can't, this, that, and the third.
Just the safety net.
When he made his
exactly. That too, man.
When he made his entire salary in stock trading, that's what I think in like a week, that's when he was like, all right, man, I'm done with this. I was like, all right.
Yeah, and that was it. I was just like,
sounds very similar to Shah.
Yeah. Yeah. Once I locked in to that perspective, once I put it in perspective, like we went out to eat one day and I was just like,
I'm not going back to
work. And
and
it was at the point also when I was at work, like the more I went to work, the more money that I was losing, just because my focus was just distracted. Like it was just this and that at work, like get this done, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just like, man, this just doesn't make sense, Yeah.
So all right, so you decide to start the cheat code, which is you got an idea of blending these technical analysis things together, to technical analysis indicators together to make your own proprietary one. So you learn how to code. How much money does this cost to start this business?
So we put aside about $80,000 just to start, and this was all from money that we had traded up. And I got to put it in perspectives too. When February came around,
February what?
February 2020.
Okay.
Right. I had a home improvement company. I was running pretty much myself, just from the ground up. I had lost a whole bunch of money in my real estate projects. Things went really south back in 2018. Lost a bunch of money in crypto too, almost $250,000 in crypto that I made, and everything just went south a lot, right? And so I had to start over. I started back over with a construction company, had some money in the markets, things like that. The market came crashing down. I was distracted, things of that nature. And my parents ended up catching COVID, right, early on when this whole thing happened. So I left everything. I'm talking about like dropped my construction company. My girl's pregnant at home. my portfolio was not near looking attention to it because I just, at that time, you guys know up here in New York, we watch it every day. You got, hospitals, bodies coming out in body bags and stuff like that. And both of them ended up having it, you know what I'm saying? So I literally went over there to take care of them. And he lost everything almost, pretty not even almost, did lose everything. You know what I'm saying? My whole business shut down because I was there for almost like 2 months, you know what I'm saying? And it was rough. I had maybe like a couple grand left. And so when they both went to the hospital, they both were hospitalized for a couple weeks. My dad literally was on the deathbed. Like they were about to, pull the plug on the whole thing. And he ended up getting the treatment and turn it around. So that he came home, they got stabilized, everything was cool, went back home. I left their house with about $2,000. And that $2,000, within I think it was about maybe a month and a half, I flipped that $2,000 into 120, right? And so that 120 was where I was like, okay.
How'd you flip 2,000 to 120?
Options.
What options?
Like a lot of different options. There was a bunch. There was not really one specific.
Give me one. What's your best one?
So Tesla was one, obviously. Tesla was a big one. I had Peloton. I got in on a Peloton run.
Apple.
And no. Yeah, Apple. I did get Apple. I got Apple. Actually, Apple contracts. So I flipped a lot of those from up to 24,000. Then Apple took me from 24 to like 82 in one day. It was and it was only like a 4 or 5% move in the stock itself. But I went hard in it because I have a philosophy of trading where it's, I don't remember if this was Warren Buffett or Lynch who said this, but it was basically talking about instead of diversifying all your eggs into multiple baskets, put your eggs into one basket and watch the hell out the basket. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of really took that philosophy when it came to trading. It's like, if I'm going to get in and out of a trade, I don't really need to diversify as much, right? Not saying that you shouldn't have proper risk management. I don't want anybody thinking I'm saying that. I'm not saying go all in. Disclaimer. But what I'm saying is that, when it came to my trades, I did a lot of due diligence. I did a lot of technical due diligence.
And it's perfect timing, too.
Right, you had experience.
The stock, if anybody's not familiar, at that time, so it's March 2020?
Yeah, so this when I was making these trades, this was around June, July.
Yeah, June.
At this point.
Okay.
It's
already there.
Yeah, and the market was amazing.
From March all the way into September,
Best.
it was one of the greatest recoveries in stock market history.
Yeah.
So that's the thing with options. I just want people just to be aware that, if you get in low, you can make a tremendous amount of money. But if you get in at the wrong time,
you're gonna get burned.
At the wrong time,
and that's where technicals come into play. Understanding when is the right time, when is it not the right time.
So you got in because of technical analysis?
100%. Yeah. So it would be, and again, we're talking short swing trades. So
what's a swing trade?
A swing trade is essentially holding the stock for, you're holding it overnight, but less than, let's say, a month or so.
So it's not day trading, but it's not long term. It's not day trading.
It's in the middle. Yeah. And so for me, my sweet spot was really like, 3-4 days, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes. And so for me, my main trading strategy is really just identifying consolidation points within bullish trends.
What's the consolidation point?
So is that when it's moving sideways?
Yep.
So like what AMD has been doing for the last 8 months.
Yeah, exactly. AMD is a beautiful trade to do that with because AMD likes to bounce between its resistances and supports. And so it's a very predictable trade to take.
Right.
And so for me, it was like, all right, if you go back, you look at Amazon's chart, you look at even Tesla's chart, there's periods where you have a bullish trend up, and then you'll have a period where it'll trade sideways for a while, consolidation. And then at some point, it'll break out of consolidation and make another leg up. And so I like to identify those periods of consolidation points, then identify our sit-ins. Patience is a big part of it. You don't have to trade every single day. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people make mistakes on is they want to be in trades all the time.
Yeah,
and so instead of focusing on 1 or 2 trades at a time, they're like, I'm gonna put a little bit of my portfolio in this trade, and then you end up with 20 trades going, and you're like, damn, you can't manage all that.
Yeah. So how did you determine the allocation? Because you said you went heavy. Was it a number of contracts, or was it a certain amount of money that you were allocating to that position?
It would be a certain portion of my portfolio. I typically would do like about 50% of my portfolio in one particular trade at a time. And again, I have to preface it by saying this is not saying
strictly for life.
This is a very specific type of trading style, and it's not your typical textbook. A lot of people who do trade are gonna be like, "Oh my God, you're doing 50% risk management." But I have very strong risk management. I know when I'm gonna get out, and I base my stop losses based off of technical technical support levels. So if I break a technical support level, I know what I'm risking, right? And I know that I'm going to exit my trade, and I know what my upside is. But if you time your trade at the point of least risk, which is typically when you get a breakout of a consolidation point, because once it's consolidating, you're basically what's happening is telling you the sellers are kind of going away. As the stock consolidates, it's saying, okay, buyers and sellers are fighting over this particular price point, and neither one of them are winning, so it's kind of stabilizing out. And then once it starts to break out, it's telling you, okay, buyers are now clearly, almost like tug of war. You think of tug of war, two teams tugging, and then once the team starts really gaining momentum, it typically you got that way. So then if you do you set your support level, you know that if it returns back to that level, chances are now the buyer, it's a false breakout and the buyers are going to get crushed, right? Or something like that.
Yeah. Would Apple be a good example of that now? Since it was, I remember in January of this year, it got up to like 145, and now it's just been sitting at like this 120.
Yeah. Last I checked, I haven't looked at Apple's chart the past week because we've been swamped with work. But the last time I checked, Apple had made a nice bullish pattern, and then it had a false breakout, and that got invalidated due to us. I think a lot due to the overall market pullback with tech. Tech is just, was overbought. Yeah, and there's not much you can do about that. So last time I checked, Apple didn't really have a really strong chart that I liked to kind of play with. So I like to, right now, the way I feel about even the entire tech sector is we need time to stabilize. We need time to find a consolidation area that's going to say this is where tech is found its base, and then figure out if we're going to move from there higher or lower. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I kind of look at that whole situation with Apple and everybody else.
So, okay. So, yeah, because this is like what day traders do, right? So day trading, people that, obviously, the safest way, most responsible way to buy a stock is find a good company and buy it and just hold it for 30 years. Right. Yep. That's what Ian says all the time.
Yeah, that's definitely the way to go for sure.
Yeah.
Buy Apple. But there are people that day trade, and the day trading, no matter whether you're day trading crypto or you're day trading, precious metals, you're day trading stocks, you're not necessarily looking at fundamentals. You could potentially be looking at news, but it's more so you're looking at charts. This is why when you see these people like looking in front of a television or their computer screens all day, that's what they're actually doing. They're looking for a tick, Forex trading, same thing. They're looking for ticks up, ticks down, where they can actually get in a point and get out of a point. And you don't just have to do that intraday. You can do that for weeks. You can do that for 10 days. You can do that for a month.
The longer you go, the longer your time schedule is on how you plan on holding that trade, the more you need to understand both fundamentals and technicals. So I always tell people, if you're going to go, the shorter you go, the better of a technical trader you better be. If you want to go and you're going to day trade, if you want to be a day trader, well, if you're not an expert technical analysis trader, then you're doing yourself a huge disservice and you're not going to be successful. Right. And if you on the same perspective, if you want to be a long-term trader, the more important is to understand the fundamentals, right? Because you don't want to buy a company that's losing money every month. Their earnings are going down. Every month the profitability is going down. The price to earnings ratio is out of whack. You're going to find yourself in a world of hurt, even if you're going long-term. Because yes, good stocks go up typically, over the long term, but not all stocks. Some stocks do go down over the long term, and you'll find big companies end up in the penny stocks because they were, the models weren't good. So if you learn fundamentals, you want to be, if you want to be a longer term trader, you need to be stronger at your fundamentals. And then I always say that even with long term investors or long term traders, I'll say long term traders.
Going on, y'all. Goat Fuel has completely revolutionized the energy drink market. It's formulated with clean, natural ingredients and is the only energy drink to use cordyceps mushrooms. Cordyceps help your body use oxygen more efficiently and have been used in Chinese medicine for thousands of years. Not only that, it's been known to help boost the immune system and reduce inflammation. So if you're looking for an energy drink that matches your style and represents your hustle, drink Goat Fuel. It only makes sense. Click the link below and use our promo code EYL20 to get 20% off. From one goat to the next. Cheers, family.
Learning technicals goes hand in hand with fundamentals, because if you want to know the optimal point, yes, you can hold a stock for 30 years, right? But optimally, if a stock is going through a 1 year down period, right, which happens sometimes, you may want to skip that year out, right? And be able to reinvest at a lower time frame, based off of technicals. So if you have both, you can really maximize your value, your portfolio value.
And then to that point too, like That's a great point, because a lot of people dollar cost averaging, right? Like that's a huge thing today. Like everybody, you especially holding long term, you can average down on certain companies that might not be good companies, but just because of technical analysis, you could be able to know that this company has broke a major support level that you probably don't want to be dollar cost averaging at that point, right? So you just want to hold and wait for the pivot to be able to reverse on the market and then, get in at that point. But yeah.
So, all right, let's talk about some recent events that's happened. GameStop.
Yeah, Chico caught that thing both times.
Yep.
So Chico caught that joint both times. We caught it at I think about $30-something the first run. It gave the buy signal and the uptrend and everything like that. The first run at $30-something. And then I think it caught a sell signal, I want to say around 4 something. I don't remember the specific number, but if anybody got the Chico, you can definitely check it out. And then the second time around, I was actually on the way to go have lunch with this guy, and I'm driving. I'm like, damn.
He was like, yo, should I get Chico? Like, the Chico gave us the, the confirmation.
Matter of fact, and that same time, I was on the call with Jamal too. So I was on the call with Jamal. Jamal's talking about Apple. He's talking about Apple earnings play, you know what I'm saying? I was like, this and the third. So I'm looking at my phone at the same time. I'm like, damn, GameStop got a buy signal at $44, right? So I'm like, damn, I might want to tap that real quick just to see what happens.
You getting a text message?
No, this is me just looking at my phone.
Okay.
I did see an alert that came through and said GameStop is going up and stuff like that. So I looked at my phone, checked it with the cheat code. I was like, GameStop got a buy signal. So by the time I got to the destination we was eating lunch at, we're sitting there having a conversation with a couple other people, and I look at my phone again. GameStop is at like $80. I said, shit. I said, damn, man. I said, maybe I should go ahead and do this. And then the market closes while we're having the conversation, and then right after the market closed, that thing went up to $120. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
So what happened? How did that happen? As far as how did it know that was going to be a good time to buy?
Because of the algorithm. So because of the data that it uses, it compiles data based off of volatility, right? So it compares. It essentially takes previous price action and the characteristics of that price action. It's not just about a stock going up or down, but it's also how it goes up and down, right? It's also how it's going up and down compared to previous points where it went up and down. To tell you, okay, this is probably a point in time where volatility is coming, and if volatility is coming up, then that's typically going to give you buy trends. If volatility is coming down, it's going to typically give you a sell trend. And so, us as traders, we operate off of volatility. If a stock does not move up or down, we don't really make money unless you have a strategy that's based off of,
spreads,
a neutral strategy, different spreads.
When you guys are looking at it, you're saying this is a buy signal. Are we buying the stock? Are we doing an option? What are we doing with it?
So we're options traders primarily.
Okay.
So that would be an options trade for us, but the software is based for stock trading. Okay. And obviously options is a derivative of stock, so we can take either way. Also, it works the same way for Forex trading, crypto trading,
everything.
et cetera, et cetera. We got Bitcoin at like $11,000 or $12,000. We got buy signal on Bitcoin.
I feel like when we were talking, we were doing a class and we were like, yo, let's look up Ethereum.
Right.
Yeah. Ethereum was on the buy signal the next day.
Matter of fact, the class that we had where I was like, yo, Tesla, I'm thinking about shorting Tesla and stuff like that.
Remember that?
Everybody was like, oh man, don't short Tesla.
Don't do it. And I'm like, yo, I'm looking at cheat code. I'm seeing everything lining up, telling me like, yo, it's going down. This thing is going down. And it was, and I hadn't gotten a signal like that since COVID. And it was almost the same type of signal. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, I'm kind of waiting for this to happen. A lot of times, I'm like, yo, other times I thought about shorting Tesla, I didn't get any signals on it, so I didn't mess with it. But at that time, I got all the signals lined up, so I'm like, all right, let me just wait for a little confirmation. And once it broke that support line, I jumped in with a bunch of puts and made a ton of money on that downtrend. I just hopped out a little early. Yep. I hopped out around like 650, but I could have caught all the way down to 5 something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was a good trade, and so that's how it works.
Yeah. So you said the vision is eventually to take the company public, right?
100%. Yeah.
So what's the process for that?
So right now we're actually working with the attorney to get to make sure the company is structured in the proper way. So a lot of what we're going to need to do it is a certain amount of first seed investors that are already part of the company, right? Like already investors prior to taking the company public. So that's one of the first steps we got to do. And then we have to restructure the way we structure the corporation. Mm-hmm. But overall, the whole idea is we still have a couple of milestones that we're going to hit personally, as far as how we want our development to go, and then numbers that we want to hit before we take the company public. But one thing I got to say about even going public is I just got to encourage everybody, as our community, Black people in our community, we've kind of worked through this process of education on starting companies. We've always been entrepreneurial in this country and other countries, right? We've always been entrepreneurial. Whether that entrepreneurialism was stifled by outside forces or not, the fact is we've always had that energy. I think one thing about it, since had Marcus Garvey taking this company, onto the stock market, things like that, it really hasn't been prevalent for us to enter that space.
Marcus Garvey to his company?
Yeah, one of the largest, the first company, Black-owned company to go public.
What's the name of it?
I don't remember the name of the company, but it was I think it was a shipping company that he took public. Yeah. And so the whole thing about that is, that is where the money's at. If you look at the richest people in the world, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the richest person in the world. Why? Because his stock that he owns went ridiculously up.
I think can we get some research more? But I think it's 4,000 companies that's on the stock market roughly, and 12 are black owned.
Yeah. And a lot of them we don't even know as traders and as investors. I think we know. I think maybe 4 or 5. There's a pharmaceutical medical supply company. There's Urban One. It's different companies like that. But few banks. Right. But when it comes to our we got some amazing entrepreneurs out here right now. We got amazing Black entrepreneurs out here right now killing the game, and the capital markets is where that's where the money is, right? And the thing is, I know a handful of other raised entrepreneurs I know personally that's taken their companies public, and they're not even on a major level. They just took the company public, and we think about it like it's some big mysterious thing that we have to do. But at the end of the day, we just have to have really good companies, enough capital, and take that thing and make it happen. Because at the end of the day, that's where the money is. And if we want to really see, first off, close the wealth gap. Second off, if we want to really reach heights that, our maximum potential, we got to go where the money is, and that's our plan.
So why do you think more people have not taken their company public?
I think it's just the education, the awareness, and just the fact that it's not made known or made it's not like a thin, right? Like in every community, if I feel like in other communities, it's just something that they're aware of, right? Like if you look at Elon Musk, everybody's saying Elon Musk just came out of nowhere and became multi-billionaire, right? Like Elon Musk had billions, right, before that. But he came out and literally made hundreds of billions in a very short span of time, right? That kind of money is not something you can legit make in just business just by, within a year or whatever it may be. So the marketplace is literally an engine, a financial engine, right? Like a wealth vehicle that you can capitalize on just based off of other people investing in your company. And one thing I always say with our community, we make everything, anything that, if you look at trends, right? Anything that Black people really stamp on goes, right? We move markets. We're known to have our expenditure is in trillions of dollars as a marketplace. So imagine that being reflected in the marketplace with the amazing companies and entrepreneurs that we have on hand currently. We'll be making billionaires overnight. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think we had this conversation, and you opened my mind to it. Yeah, sure. And I think the key is that it was out the realm of belief.
Yeah, exactly.
We've never seen it.
It's been missing,
right? We've never, especially from, I guess, our demographic, right? We just never seen it, right? And so when we had this conversation, I'm thinking that's really brilliant.
But what is some of the corporate, not because I don't, because how is there a certain revenue threshold that you have to hit?
That's what I was going. So I'm trying to figure out
listen, you got companies that are shell companies that don't have anything. But a corporation
that are public,
that go public, and you can buy a publicly traded shell company today, right now. If you wanted to go public in the next couple of months, you could buy a publicly traded shell company, do a reverse merger, and you have a public company. But at the end of the day,
what's a reverse merger?
A reverse merger is essentially when a privately held company will merge with a publicly held entity, right, and to create a new corporation, a new entity that one kind of merges into the other, right? So at the end of the day,
you got A, you got B. Mm-hmm. B merges with A, and we call ourselves something new.
You can either call yourself something new, or you can keep the name of the entity that is being acquired, which would be the actively traded company. Actively active business. The active
That's
business.
when Jay said, no need to discuss further. IPO hold, reverse merger.
That's exactly. Yeah, and then you also take over all the legalities of the already. So the whole point of the reverse merger is that the first company has everything that you need to be able to list on the stock market. If you're a private company and you don't have, there's a lot that goes into like, just to like, not to dumb it down.
Process.
Yeah, the process. It's a process.
The whole thing.
But that company, has everything that you need. You don't have everything that you need. You reverse merger with that company, merge, and then you have everything you need. Essentially, you take on all the credibilities.
Is there a specific capital threshold?
No. So the thing about it is there's capital requirements to pay for the fees and listing legal fees and things like that to list. But as far as like having to have a certain amount of capital, it depends on the exchange you want to list on. If you want to go to NASDAQ or something like that, NASDAQ has the highest listing requirements of anything else. You have New York Stock Exchange, but then you also have the OTC markets, and a lot of us sleep on the OTC markets. But you have a lot of decent companies that are actually listed OTC that can uplist as they go along. So it's an entire process. We don't need to discard any of the different exchanges that you can list on. The point is, get there, right? Once you get there, and this is the other thing about it, and we talk about price of stock and stuff like that, but that's not really the most important thing. The most important thing is having the leverage to be able to acquire other companies, right? You can do stock transactions, you can do options transactions, to be able to acquire other companies. There's just the whole world opens up to you that's not opened typically as a privately owned corporation. And so that's kind of our plan. Obviously, we're not experts at doing it. We haven't done it yet. I've spent a lot of years researching, a lot of years talking to attorneys about it and make it step by step. But at the end of the day, our plan is to literally to kick down the door for our group and our generation to that space and bring that information and that process back to everybody else and really be able to partner with other people and do things that we can just encourage people to do it. You know what I mean? Because
there was this coffee company that Jamal and I were familiar with way back when called Lucan. They got but they're back on the OTC market. And I'm like, oh, this is what they're doing. They just changed the name. And so it went from like a $2 stock now to almost like a $9 stock. And so that's important because now they don't have to pay the fee for being in, I guess, whatever. What were NASDAQ. They were the NASDAQ. So now they just go OTC, pay a lower entry level, and still can exist as a company. Yeah, it's kind of like essentially like an athlete going to the G League, right? To get the exposure, get everything you need, get the experience, and then once the NBA sees you or you're ready to go to the NBA, you go to your pro day and then, try out and get into the NBA. That's about as simple as I think I could put it. And if I'm thinking sports, I'm thinking like a dude like Josh Gordon.
Right, exactly.
Josh Gordon gets suspended. He's got to figure out, he's playing all these different leagues until he can get back to the NFL.
Right.
Got you.
Yeah. OTC, over the counter.
Over the counter, over the counter stocks.
It's a lot less listing requirements, a lot less oversight as far as financial statements and all that other type of stuff. But the thing about that area is, if you operate as a proper company, you do, even if they don't have the oversight, you make sure that all your stuff is in line. You do your financial statements. You operate within your company as if you were trading on the NASDAQ. At the end of the day, you do what you're supposed to do. Everything will line up, and that's the way I see it. And this is all, in our roadmap. Our plan is literally, whether we go OCC or we go straight to New York Stock Exchange or whatever it is, we just build a really, really good company. If you build a really, really good company, whatever you want to do with it at that point, you'll be able to do, right? We have our company, our business as it stands, we have amazing revenue, we have amazing profit margins, we have everything we need to expand. And there's so many other businesses that are out there that are in the same space, SaaS companies, e-commerce businesses. SaaS, software as a service. Yeah. So, software as a service companies are amazing business model. And our plan is actually to expand and purchase more software as a service companies.
What is software as a service company?
So you build a software and you essentially sell it as a service on a monthly subscription basis. You know what I mean? And so, it's just an amazing business model because, once it's built, the infrastructure around it is just administrative, really. Once a product is built, and then you just have subscription revenue that you can constantly grow. If it's a really good product and has a use case for millions of people, your job is really just to make millions of people aware about it so that you can continue to expand the company and then take that model and grow it. And honestly, I got to say, we're just having this we was just having this conversation not too long ago. But I was big in real estate. You know what I mean? I was big in real estate, and I'm never knocking real estate at all.
Yeah,
but
he would die for real estate. He used to be that type. You know what I'm saying? And I got to put that out there.
But I started to look at it, and I was like, damn, man, if I got X amount of capital and I wanted to put it to work in a particular industry, right? If my mindset is growth, right? If I'm trying to grow, within a certain time frame, SaaS businesses really offer an unbeatable type of business model, right? Yeah. Because I put my capital up, I have my digital real estate, my website, my different things that's out there, landing pages and sources of traffic, and you build something once, and the revenue comes consistently. If I want to put ad spend into it, if I spend $1,000 in ads, I might come back with $2,000, $3,000 the next day or week or whatever it is within a short period of time. It's the velocity of money. You know what I mean? So when I look at what I could do in real estate, all right, well, I can put my money into real estate and do that. And I'm not saying not to, but what I'm saying is I got to wait for my capital to come back at least on a monthly basis, right? We have monthly tenants, but then there's expenses and things like that, so a certain amount of profit. But when I look at SaaS, I could put my same capital to work in SaaS, and my velocity comes back within a couple of days, a couple of weeks, maybe. Different. You know what I mean? The velocity is quicker. So if I can turn my money around quicker, I can grow my capital quicker, and my equity in my company scales a lot more different. You look at real estate, you got cap rates, right, for your real estate on how to value commercial properties. With a SaaS business, if I have a SaaS business based off, let's say, tech, right? Obviously tech, right? My valuations may be 8 times my monthly recurring revenue, my annual recurring revenue. If I add things in like data, consumer data, that I also add to that business, and this is something I actually got off of my bro. His bro's name Chad, right? Chad told us this other day. We looked into it. I was like, yo, man, dude. Chad Copeland. Yeah, shout out Chad Copeland for this one.
Brother NFL.
So if you add data into that.
Brandon's brother.
And they have me into the real estate game.
They have me into the real
estate game.
Yeah, we'll be in the rooms. Yeah, we'll be chopping up. Yeah, we'll be chopping up.
So it's based on how you can expand your potential valuation on your company just by adding different things like data, being a database company versus just a standard SaaS company. So there's a lot of flexibility on how you can grow your valuation and your equity in your company, with SaaS. It's so much.
Instead of 8 times, like as a regular valuation for a SaaS company, if you add data, it's 25 times.
Can be up to 25.
Up to 25 times.
It's just depends.
For valuation.
For valuation. Yeah. So that's a huge factor.
Yeah. So if you look at building out portfolios, I'm looking at now, from my perspective, is build out a portfolio of SaaS companies, right? The same way I would a real estate based portfolio, and then combine all that together and create a company that's a massively held, entity that's in the SaaS space. So that's kind of one thing. Again, want to encourage other entrepreneurs out there, other Black entrepreneurs particularly, to start looking into.
More you know. The more you know.
Man,
the more you know.
Yeah, the digital real estate space is something that
special.
It's vital.
Yeah.
It's vital, especially in this day and age. It's not like it.
Right.
So talk about the company. So what exactly do you guys offer? Like, what's your product suite?
So we offer our primary product is our cheat code algo. That's our product. That's our SaaS product, right? In which we're constantly iterating, constantly improving on, and constantly just bringing value to. Right. Then we have our second kind of tier would be our educational program. And so for Chico, we also do classes free. We do free classes. We have free classes we do twice a week on how to use the cheat code so that people can learn live. We sit on Zoom, we teach. Then we have a free community in which people can kind of come to, and we talk about stocks, options, give games, stuff like that.
Right. Now, real quick before we move from that, the cheat code, just in general, usually just for people that are completely new and just don't know what the cheat code is, even from this conversation, it's a trading software that tells you exactly when to buy and exactly when to sell. And then as you're trading, it does have a live trading manager that actually gives you stop loss values that you can have as a mental stop loss, or you can actually implement in your chart. Right? Yeah, exactly.
Take profit
and then
points.
take profit points.
Because you want to take profit on the way up and not the way down. It's something we try to impart to everybody as we can. Scale out of your positions on the way up, so that you don't have to worry about I don't know when to sell. You get into a really good trade and you're like, I'm scared to take profit. Like, scale out slowly but surely. So that's why we set up. Right. Got a lot of features there. So that's our main thing, and then we have the free community, Discord community, we teach, you know, and we talk, and we do all types of stuff in there. It's about 3,000 people deep in there. And in that program, we have a premium product, our premium service, where we do live trade alerts, we do classes from beginner to advanced every week, that kind of thing. And then we have our masterclass program, which we recently launched, and that's launching tomorrow, actually, April 1st. We're going to run them every 2 months. And that is an 8-week masterclass. We go from beginner trader all the way to advanced. We teach you
knowing
from
absolutely nothing
to being able to trade advanced trading, you know, within 8 weeks. So that's something we really did a brain dump on. Like, you know, as much as we could get out of our heads into the course is what we provide there. That's live. We teach it, you know, and we have a community as well. You have access to us. We talk all day long and make sure people get that information. And then finally, what else we got? And then we got the 10K challenge. The 10K challenge is a really cool thing. It's something we launched. Basically, we start off with $1,000 in an account, and then we basically would trade that account. Our admin team would trade that account, and the trades that they take live, you know, other people are able to kind of follow along. They can see.
I can mimic it.
Yeah, you can mimic it,
exactly.
and that is completely optional. It's not something we're like, oh, you have to do this and a third, but it's basically so that you can kind of see how we do it. Right, and then you can either emulate it or not, or do
it's
whatever.
Essentially, like giving you fish while you learn how to fish too.
Right. So that's pretty much the main products that we have or services that we offer.
Right.
But I think the main thing that we really want our community to do is really just wherever you get your information from, get the information. You know, because a lot of people are out here getting into the market and just trying their hand. This is a skill-based game. You wouldn't go out onto you go to Rucker Park, right? And you just learn how to ball the other day, right? You got a basketball, you've been dribbling around.
You made one 3-pointer.
Yeah, then you go shoot. Then you want to head out to Rucker Park. Then you're gonna do something, right?
Right.
So it's how it is, man. We want everybody to. It's not technical versus fundamentals. You need to learn both. You need to have an understanding, because sometimes it's going to be the time to day trade and things like that. Sometimes it's going to be time to just put it into long term and just chill out. Yeah. Right? And that's where I'm at right now. I know when I talked to Jamal and I talked to you guys a couple months ago, you guys said, what are you trading? I'm like, man, honestly, I don't like the market right now. I'm going to stash into some value trades and I'm going to sit there. Yeah. And that was January, you know what I mean? And everybody was still kind of going the tech route. And I'm like, I made a bunch of money on tech. I made a bunch of money on Tesla. I made a bunch of money on those things. Yeah. Now I'm kind of just hanging out. I'm going to stash my money in some value stuff, and I'm going to hang out long term until I figure out what the market's going to do. Mm-hmm. Got everything going on with interest rates and all this other type of stuff. Market knowledge is the kind of like the third leg. Technical fundamentals and market knowledge. Understanding what's happening in the market, the economy, how the economy works.
Yep, the full story, macroeconomics.
That's important too to realize sometimes. Like I just put a substantial amount of money in some long-term positions because it's like you get caught up in trying to run somebody else's race and measure your success. But the worst thing you can do is get a bag and blow it.
And you can blow it.
We say it every day. Yeah. NBA. Never broke again.
Yeah, never broke again. I like that.
So if you don't like that, if you don't know what to do, there's nothing wrong with not doing anything or just playing it safe.
Cash is a position.
Playing it safe until you figure it out. If you want to start to trade again or make short-term situations or options and stuff like that, but you feel pressure to do something just to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And that's when you lose money.
Yeah. And the greed. You get greed. Your eyes get big. You see, see everything going up crazy. You're like, oh, I want to get in. Man, I'm telling you, man, like, I've been through, and it took me a long time to understand that, what you're talking about. And I think that's very wise of you, even, as an individual in the space that you recognize that early, you know what I mean? Because for me, it took me a long time. I started young, and being young and high risk individual, and I was a hothead. You know what I mean? So it took me a long time. In every aspect you could think of, I was a hothead, aggressive, things like that. And I had to learn over time, like, sometimes you just got to learn how to chill out. Yeah. And I've been through multiple market cycles to see the irrationality that comes. Last time the crypto market went crazy in 2017, the irrationality was crazy. I turned 5,000 to 250K in that market, but then lost like 200,000 in a night. In a night.
Like the emotional disparities that come with that.
It takes market maturity.
Yeah, for sure.
It takes market maturity.
And mental fortitude.
Mental fortitude. It takes patience. It takes all that, right? And so, like, when you've gone through that, when you can see something like that, I mean, there's nothing you can't see now,
that's
right?
a fact.
And so like your discipline becomes better, and I'm guilty of it. I've seen myself saying, you know what? Oh man, it's running.
Yeah,
let me get in.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
But after you've done it a few times and you've messed up a few times,
you know,
you're graceful enough to actually come back in because you didn't lose your position. And it's like, all right, well, I know it now. My eyes have trained to see it.
Right.
I know that. You know what I mean? It's like the if you're on the field,
right?
I can read the defense now.
Right.
I know what to do.
You know it's coming. You see that safety coming right over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Oh wait, the safety's a split. Oh, it must be a cover two. Right. Exactly.
That's exactly.
You never lose by taking profit.
That's a fact, man. All money that you walk away from is money won. You never lost. Like potential money to gain is not real money.
Yeah.
You never make money until you sell. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, those are real things that I had to personally learn myself, you know what I'm saying? And Francis always beat it down in my head. I'm like, yo, like, I'm ready to go all in on this play, you know what I mean? Like, and you get excited, you know what I'm saying? When you start, like, you know, winning and things like that, you definitely get excited and you can't get swept off your feet. And I always say this, like, you know, after your biggest gains is when you are most likely going to experience your biggest losses because you're most vulnerable there mentally. You know, that's the psychological aspect of trading. Yeah, you think you're just God. You know, you've unlocked God level. You know what I'm saying? You're not there yet. You're unlocked.
That's a fact. And like I said, that's something that, you know, you can't compare yourself to anybody else. You can't count anybody else's wins. You got to run your own race.
That's
and realize that defense is the best offense. Take profits. Don't be greedy. Don't be emotional. All of these things come into play because if not, you can really hurt yourself in a short period of time. And like I said, there's nothing worse than getting money and then losing it.
And that's one thing I got to say, even for traders, and this kind of goes into what you're talking about with getting money and losing it. As a trader, even if you're a short-term trader, short-term trade with a long-term perspective, right? So if you're looking at, like, I want to make my money short-term, right? You're doing it with the perspective of, okay, long-term, I want my portfolio to grow long-term, right? I don't want to just make money today and then lose money tomorrow, right? You want to make the money and you want to continuously grow it, even if it's with small profit amounts. Every day that you, and a lot of times we sleep on this. Once you get to the point where you got $100,000, $200,000 in your account, you done traded it up or whatnot, you're like, oh yeah, you know, you make $2,000 today. It's like, that's not a good day, right? But bro, you just made $2,000 in a day. If you make $2,000 a day every day, right? It's crazy. You're gonna make what, $700,000 in a year, something like that, right? So at the end of the day, if you have $100,000, $200,000, if you have $200,000 account, that's 1% a day. That you can and you can make that relatively easily with just a little bit of effort, right? Even if it's 0.5% a day, you know what I'm saying? Something like that, you can make a decent amount of money on a long-term perspective, short-term trading. And I think that's the argument that happens a lot of times is long-term versus short-term and this and the third. We're all long-term traders. Everybody wants to make money for the long term. You don't want to make money tomorrow and not have it the next day. So, you know, I think we just all have to kind of take that into consideration for all my guys out there who are short-term technical traders. You know, try to keep a mindset of long-term, keep that goal in mind. For sure. Because that's all that matters at the end of the day.
That is a fact. And as I always say, education is extremely important. You can't skip over it. And it was an honor to have you guys talk about the fintech. You know, a black fintech company is extremely important and the dreams of taking it public and all of that. So, you know, as always, whenever we bring somebody on that has an educational platform, we always try to, you know, have a special offer for EYL supporters. And you guys were gracious enough to do that. So the bundle, from my understanding, the bundle is every single thing that you offer, right? All bundled together for a year. So you guys are giving $500 off, right? Okay, so $500 off, and the website is EYLCCbundle.com. So once again, explain what that bundle actually represents.
Yeah, so for the bundle, you're going to be getting the cheat code algo software, which tells you when to buy and sell with a stop loss, take profit points. Great technical analysis. Troy already knows.
That's a fact.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. Because a lot of times when we say we're students of the game, right. I know y'all personally.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah.
The first thing I did was sign up, and I text you after. And you wasn't like, "Oh, Troy, it's all good." It was like, "No, I want to support your business, number one, but I also want to learn." And so I found myself diving in every morning. It's like guys are in text messages. I'm studying. I'm going into the Discord. I'm looking at my buys and sells because now I'm adding another piece to my arsenal. So a lot of times we talk about do the homework. cheat code has become part of my homework now. So it's like, all right, I've done my technical analysis from what I know. I have my indicators. Let me double check it with what you guys are doing. And like I said, man, the platform blew me away. And so I had to, my brother was blown away. Everybody around us was blown away. And I was like, look, this is something special, man. We got to connect with these guys. So again, man, being a student of the game and watching what you guys have done has been incredible. So I encourage you.
So talk about like how, like specifically, like give an example, because I know you've been very bullish on it, and you were telling me like,
definitely bullish.
Yeah. So like I said, I'll find stocks and I'll do my technical analysis on it. I'll do a little bit of fundamentals, and then I'll go in to see, right. One of the best things I think was the CC curve. And when I really understood the CC curve.
What is a CC curve?
So the CC curve really is a swing. And so you can see when the stock is about to change, right, from a buy signal to a sell signal. So we go, and it's very, very obvious because it's either going to be red or green. And
smooth.
You can kind of see from the texture of the color, like, all right, if it's in dark red, it's just hit this negative, right, it's hit this negative downturn. And as it paces up, you'll see it turn light red, and then you can see it go green. And one of the things I took from you, Francis, is like, you know what? Don't get it right away. I want it to be a momentum trade. And so I hadn't been doing that a lot. I was like, all right, well, it came out of the swing. Let me get in here now so I can catch the upswing. And he was like, you know what? Let's see the momentum. Let's wait a day. Let's change it. And that's another dope thing, too, is that it does it by hour. And so it could be, you can look at the 4-hour chart. You can look at the 3-hour chart. You can look down to 30 minutes. That's... For the experience,
that's 5, 15, 30 minute charts.
That's strictly for live, man. So I started out doing the week, and then I got down to 4 hours. Now I feel comfortable at the 4 hours, so I can see it, and I can see that first tick up. It's like, okay, second tick. All right, now this is my entry point. And so it's helped me tremendously in doing my research and doing my data analysis of my positions that I'm getting in.
And that's the same feedback we got from the Forex guy that tried it. He actually is like a swing trader too. And
he's a scalper.
He's a scalper.
He goes
we had
like
two
minute,
Forex
2 minutes, 3 minutes.
There was one guy that was a Forex scalper, and he was getting in and out of trades. And he was
and what he said was everything that he does in his own technicals. He had 2 screens because these guys they have like
so
he's got screens. He's doing his technicals on one, and he's got the cheat code overlaid on the other one. He's like every time he gets his signal on his technicals, he looks over and the cheat code already got it. So he's like, damn. He's like, I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, damn, man. Well, what am I even doing this for if I already got it? That's kind of how I started.
Trying to fight it.
Y'all switched me over.
And one point I want to make is that we got to understand something. In the marketplace, it's a competitive area. Right? There's always a buyer, a winner, and a loser in every transaction. When somebody's making money, somebody's losing money. Right? Now, the hedge funds, institutional traders, they have, people have multi-million dollars, even $1 billion, high frequency trading bots and all types of different tools that they have at their advantage to make sure that they win at the end of the day. We saw that with the GameStop thing. They'll go through any lengths to do what they have to do to win. You got to understand that these guys have billions of dollars to put towards advanced trading tools and resources to make sure that they win and we don't, right? Like that's the whole goal is that, big bank take little bank. They're not fighting each other to win their money from themselves. They're fighting to take money from out of retail hands, right? Because we're the ones putting money, we take our stimulus money, we put it in the market. We don't really know a whole lot of technicals and stuff like that. And then we end up, sometimes, it's almost like a casino at some point if you don't really put a perspective on it. So, for us, when we developed the software, it was kind of like the retail traders version of some of the things that the institutional guys are using. Because if you go back and even when you look at, we had this conversation on Clubhouse not too long ago where there was a bunch of hedge fund guys in the room and they're like kind of bragging to each other about how their firm caught the bullish trend coming back to the market at the bottom of COVID, right? They're like, oh yeah, well, our firm was the first firm on Wall Street to call the market coming back in April 10th, or call the market coming back April 14th, and they're like, oh, well, my firm did this and the third. When I went back and looked at the Chico called that thing March 20 something, like a week, 2 weeks before they were talking about it, and it gave us all the bullish signals saying that everything was coming back, man. So I'm like, yo, if these guys are, with all their millions and billions of dollars of research and tools and things like that they have at their disposal, this gives us a fighting chance, a real chance of being able to protect ourselves or be able to just find success in the market that we wouldn't have otherwise. And even myself, when I go back and I look at COVID, we got the sell signal on COVID the day before COVID even started to really the market SPY started to drop. We got the sell signal on the downtrend a day before that. I wouldn't have saw that if I was just trading myself without that. Right? I wouldn't have said, damn, the market's about to really come down I wouldn't have known. I would have just thought it was a little small pullback, a little flip.
Right.
You know, same thing with the Tesla trade. I would have been like, oh, well, Tesla's always going up. This is just going to be another blip in Tesla's downturn this past, February something that happened. Yeah. But Chico was screaming at me like, man, nah, this is it. You know what I mean? And so,
I like that. It's an institutional tool for retail investors.
Institutional tool.
Right. I like that. Yeah, and the crazy part is like the institutional investors have tools like Bloomberg terminals, things that cost like tens of thousands of dollars, right? And news that you see on the news, before it gets to the news, these guys already know it.
They got it.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like cheat code also works in like conjunction with detecting influx also in just various things, like calculations and things like that. So if these guys are moving their money, big money's moving their money out of the market and you don't know it, right? Like you're just waiting on the news to be like, oh, COVID-19 here, we're shutting down all businesses. Right. Before that news article is said out on the news, these guys have already made that transaction and been able to protect all their capital. So that's essentially the thing. We're just trying to play the
other
retail
information. We also got to understand data, how important data is into factoring into these trades, because a lot of these guys are purchasing our data. You trade on Robinhood, you think Robinhood is free, and so I'm not going to say Robinhood specifically, but other platforms that have free commission trading and stuff like that, it's not always free, right? Because it is
you're paying them one way or the other.
But you're paying in your data, because hedge funds and institutional guys are buying that data, so they know what it is that you're trading and where you got your stop losses and things like that, and that they can kind of use for their programs and things like that to run, right? And I'm not trying to paint hedge funds as bad, individuals per se, but everybody's looking to win. And they have the resources to make sure that they win. So they purchase data, they purchase our user data. We don't have anything. Yeah. And there are other tools out there that you can use that would give us information. That's why our goal is to not just this, but build out a suite of tools that, let's say we need to know, when money's going in and out of a particular stock. There's ways
senators
that we can get
trading.
that information. There's things that we can get those types of information. So our goal, and that's kind of what I mentioned earlier, our milestones before going public, we want to have these tools built out first and foremost, so that you can just go on your phone and say, damn, I see that $10 million just flew out of this particular trade, on whatever platform, and you'll be able to kind of take that into your understanding before you set your trade. So it's, again, like I said, technicals, fundamentals, and then market knowledge, knowing what's going on in the market. You know what I mean? It's not just technicals and fundamentals. Market knowledge is a component that people don't really talk enough about. And then I think the last part about it is just emotional intelligence, being able to manage your emotions in trading. And then you'll be a fully well-rounded trader, fully well-equipped to have success in the market on a regular basis.
Yeah. So you get the algorithm that tells you when to trade. Yep. You get the boot camp.
Yeah, you get the boot camp, the 8 weeks boot camp. You also get the premium Discord channels with the trade alerts, the admins in the Discord, the community for a year. And then you also get to participate in our 10K challenge, which is, following along with the trades that we make, taking $1,000 to $10,000.
And you can mimic that.
Yep, you can mimic that.
And then
so
all of that.
$500
off. The only place that you can get the $500 off is that website, EYLCCC bundle.com. We appreciate you guys for that. And once again, if you guys bring up a good point. I was watching something on 60 Minutes a while ago, and they was talking about how, like institutions, they showed like their trading room, and their trading room was just computers. They have these supercomputers that even down to like a microsecond, it makes a big difference. So it's like, if you want to be a day trader, if you want to be a swing trader, if you want to be a trader, period, you have to use software. It's impossible not to. So you have to
trading on HPs.
It's
dial-up service.
Dial-up.
Because that's the competition that you're up against. We're in the age of technology. So for you guys to, like I said, start that company, fintech company, and give the regular retail investors an opportunity to look at not just, figure out charts for themselves, but actually give them a software to actually help them with the charts is extremely valuable. So I definitely encourage every single person. Like I said, Troy has actually used it. I'm not really a big technical person, but I do look at charts from time to time.
Say yes, but his technical is like, yo, what you think?
That's the majority of it. Because as long as our community, somebody's got the access.
You know what's funny about that though is that is a
powerful tool.
It's a trading. It's becoming more prevalent because we think about viral. Something I call it viral trading. Right? We got people see somebody say, "Oh yeah, this is the stock we're trading." Right? It goes on Twitter, people share it, and it goes on Instagram, it goes on TikTok, and then everybody's like, "Yo," it's basically like, "Yo, what you think?" I think I think Dogecoin is a good trend, and all of a sudden everybody's moving into it. And that's another form of data because if you look at it, we even have an ETF now. What's it called?
Measures the
what's it called? Buzz ETF. That's basically measures about something. That's data that they're taking to be able to informatively make their trades, and that's what they're now manifesting it in the ETF for everybody can participate in. But they've been doing it, and so that's data that we want to look at.
Like when we talk about our group chat, that is our group chat.
Exactly.
Right? Like, he'll hit me, I'll hit him back. Like, I'm looking at this.
That's our Discord channel.
But that's the community. And I hit you.
Even in the hedge fund or when you work on Wall Street, everybody has different jobs in the hedge fund. Everybody doesn't look at technical analysis.
Right.
Some people are fundamental. Some people
buy-side analysts.
Some people just go out and make relationships with different people to actually bring the money in. They call rainmakers. So
like lobbyists.
Exactly. I look at my role as the same way. I'm not.
That's smart.
I'm in the streets. I'm in the streets. I'm in the streets. Troy's in the office. I'm in the streets.
That's good, man. That's a good combination. That's
how we are.
I tell when y'all talking, I'm like, this sounds like a story. That's just like our story.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, man. You gotta have that, man. Especially in partnerships, man.
Yeah, I think that's the most beautiful thing about partnerships.
I want people to overlook any of this, right? Yeah. Like, we got two brothers working together. We got two brothers working together.
Right. Like that's something special.
You can't discount that, man. And I gotta tell you, man, it's so. We always talk about this in our community. We have a habit, especially as black men, of wanting to, like, everybody wants to be the boss. I want to go out and do this. I want to go do this on my own. I want to do this. But at the end of the day, man, sometimes it's really about just, bringing what you have to the table and building something bigger than yourself. You know what I mean? And that's really what it's about. I've had multiple businesses on my own. You know what I mean? And I had various levels of success in all of them. But it really, until we partnered up and really, he was able to, he does things that I'm not particularly good at or I don't particularly want to do. And I do things that he's not particularly good at or he doesn't want to do. And we're able to build kind of like a full structured type of business model. And that same thing with you guys. You know what I mean? Like,
that's community, man. That's community. And same thing. You were like, hey, I want to show this to Trap. I want to show this to Ian. That's a phone call. Let's get on the phone with them. And so now you build in. And when I spoke to Paula, she was like, I'm like, the episode was incredible. She was like, yeah, I spoke to Francis. I'm like, oh, this is community. Right? This is it right here in front of us. We're all working together.
And you know what's crazy? Back at the homeland, this is how we operate. Like tribes, everything. Like we eat from the same bowl. We go hunting food together. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you don't do the work, you're not eating. Like that's literally the motto. You know what I'm saying? Like ever since I was a kid, just because my brother is 7 years older than me, so I always hung out with that's why like I matured early, essentially. But it's just the idea of like, going far, we get things done together faster. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're trying to prepare a meal, okay, you get the ingredients, you get salt, you get, cayenne pepper, you get, you know what I'm saying, you got the chicken, boil the water, bring the salt.
I mean, just look at Street Fighter, you got Ken and Ryu, you got Double Dragon, you know what I mean? All the best.
Goku and Vegeta. Shout out to Rose. It's like you eating from the bowl while your dog need a fork.
That's a fact. Yeah, that's a fact, man.
Shout out to Rose, man.
Yeah, shout out.
Nah, we appreciate you, brothers, man. So, what would you like to leave the people with? What's some final words that you would like to tell the people? How can they follow you on social media? All that.
Yeah, for sure. So you can follow us at cheat CHEAT.algo on Instagram.
ALGO.
Yep, ALGO. You can follow my Instagram is Kway Trades, Kway KWAY.trades.
Yeah, and then my Instagram is the real Jehu. The real Jehu.
Yeah. That's it. And I think that the final words I particularly want to say is I just want to encourage everybody out there, particularly those in our community, to always think bigger. And I'm not gonna say dream bigger, right? Because like you was talking about earlier, to dream you got to be sleep, right? But think bigger, right? Whatever it is that you got, you can always make it significantly bigger. You're never gonna get bigger unless you think bigger first, and then take the actions necessary to make it to that point. And so that's one thing I just kind of want to leave everybody with. And then when it comes to trading, for all my traders out there, all my people who are in the markets, who are in the investment world, make sure you're using any resources and all resources that's within your grasp. If you're not putting forth the effort of reaching out to education or tools or whatever it is you can use to your advantage, then you're really not trying. And if you're not trying, you're not going to find success in the marketplace. And this is one of the most important things. And I think the last thing, I know this is long, but the last thing I want to leave with is invest in your kids. You know what I'm saying? Teach your kids whatever you learning now, you can teach your children, and if your child can understand it. I promise you. You know what I'm saying?
These kids are coming up.
I promise you, they
talented.
can understand it. You don't have to go deep into whatever technical analysis, things like that. But you can teach some fundamental principles. You can teach some. Even right now, my son just started his first candle business. He's 8 years old. He started a little candle business. He also trades. He has a little trading account he does when he's she's off from school and things like that. But those things, it was very simple for me to teach him. It didn't take a lot, and he's a great kid. I'm not saying he's smarter than anybody else's kid, none of that type of stuff. These are very simple things that you can teach to your children, and I promise, like, with the knowledge you have today, the things I learned at 13 is the same things we're sitting here talking about now at 30. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to take it with me till I'm 60, 70, 80 years old till I got Alzheimer's, right? God forbid, knock on wood. Knock on wood. You know what I mean? That's
but yeah, man, like, just to emphasize on the things he says, like, I'm super big into legacy. I grew up in the homeland. I've seen, I just want, like, our community just to be able to, like, come together, like, no matter the walk of life, right? Because everybody comes from a different lens, right, in this life thing, right? We all have different experiences. We all have different, like, just motivations and things like that. But we have to be able to kill ego in our community to be able to move forward. I think that's one of the biggest things holding us back. And when it comes to, like, the investing space, do not be afraid to invest in your education, right? Like, of course, go to YouTube, do all that. Like, you know what I'm saying? You have to be dedicated, right? Like, this investing thing, the number one thing is you have to be able to want to have a better life for yourself, right? Like, if you're not motivated individually as somebody that wants to be in a better position for not just you, your family, and things like that, because that's one thing that we've realized, like, and that's a sacrifice that we've made, like, as far as time. Like, he's telling you his child was being born, and we're out here trying to get on calls
in the house,
in the house. You know what I'm saying? So it's different. Like, you just have to be able to you just have to be able to just want better for yourself, and just capitalize on that. You know what I'm saying? Reach and seek out this information at the highest level, because we're living in the age of information. There's no reason, man. There's literally no excuse, man.
There was not this type of information out there. And if you look at when you go into college, when I was taking classes and things like that, each one of my classes was like $3,000 for a biology class that I never saw. I never did anything with biology in my life outside of make children. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's not something that I use, right? So. But I spent $3,000 on that. I have debt to this day for classes that I never did anything with. If I'm willing to go $3,000 in a debt for a class that I've never used before, then why wouldn't I $400, $200? There's $50 programs out there. There's $2,000 programs out there. You're gonna get what you put in, right? This is information that you can literally. I mean, not everybody, I think, that's been in the market understands, or most people that's been in the market understands that this is something that can change your life for good. I've done it. I haven't worked a 9-to-5 job since 2011. Right. You know what I'm saying? And
I was pressed on my 9-to-5
and
job.
he was pressed on. He was able to quit his 9. He had a good 9-to-5 job. Been pushing on 6 figures, and he was able to to quit that just from the information that I gave to him. He ran with, and he's been able to to do what he's been able to do with. Right. So I think it's just the most important thing is just understanding wherever you get it from. It doesn't have to be through us, through anybody you see around or whatever it is. Anywhere. Get the information first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? And then once you have the information, then you'll be able to apply that information. And then don't be afraid to put a little bit of capital up in the markets for yourself to try to apply that what you're learning. Because it's only going to benefit you in the long run. So.
I appreciate you guys, man. Sure. Troy, housekeeping items?
Yeah, information on us, application on you. That's the rules. And shout out to everybody on patreon.com. That is our private paid program. Obviously, we got that from our good brother Nipsey Hussle. Rest in peace to him. We just went on the 2-year anniversary of his death, so we're going to keep the marathon running, of course. So shout out to everybody on patreon.com. Again, the top tier, tier 5, you have access to EYL University, the #1 place for everything in the world of entrepreneurialism, business, and finance, man. And shout out to all the earners that have been part of that. Shout out to everybody in our Facebook group, everybody that's been attending our classes and applying this information. Man. That's a lot of information. So there's so much that you can apply in the real world, man. So these guys are doing it. And you're doing it too. So kudos to you. And shout out to everybody supporting our merch on earning leisure. And
Guys, I already told him. I already put my order in. I need that.
So we greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's it. Thank you guys for rocking with us. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.
My graduates from my school being Forbes. Bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop. Bag drop.
Bag drop.